We're good to go there?
Yeah.
All right. First on the agenda is approval of the September 4th, 2019 and September 2018, 19 minutes as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Request from Matt Nye to address the commission regarding the deputy fire chief testing. I assume Matt is here.
Yes, sir. Right here.
Yes. Your floor.
Okay, my name's Matthew Nye, I'm captain of the Waterford Regional Fire Department, and I appreciate the time. What I did, since I can speak for a long time at times, is I wrote something down, a summary of why I'm here. I believe you all got a copy of the letter I sent. I'm not sure if you got a chance to read it yet. So I didn't want to talk for an hour when you already somewhat know the reason I'm here. So I'll just summarize the reason I'm here, then I'll open for questions that you might have today. Thank you for allowing me to speak about the seniority points and how they relate to the promotional testing within the Waterford Regional Fire Department. I originally visited this commission in May of 2019, soliciting the board for approval of eligibility to test for chief and deputy chief, and to receive combined seniority points from my time as a city of Pontiac and Waterford Regional firefighter. To summarize that particular meeting in May, the Civil Service Board had read numerous MOUs, memorandums of understanding, that were signed to allow former Pontiac firefighters to utilize the combined Waterford and Pontiac seniority as eligibility and points for competitive promotional tests within the fire department. Currently, those positions include fire lieutenant, fire captain, fire battalion chief, fire lieutenant inspector. The board agreed that it looked like the intent was to have all combined department member seniority time, both Waterford and Pontiac, to be counted toward all promotional positions throughout the fire department. The sitting chief at the time also agreed that the intent was to include all positions of promotion regarding both Pontiac and Waterford seniority points. Moving forward to the present time, it looks as if the seniority points have not been included for all positions of promotion within the fire department. I believe that a precedent has been set that clearly illustrates that combined seniority has been used again and again for multiple competitive promotional tests, and that this particular situation has been handled in a manner differing from past practice. I believe that the commission is responsible for ensuring that a fair, competitive, and experience-based test is provided for each and every promotional examination, and that no one single or otherwise test is handled or administered with an ideology differing from one another. For that reason, I respectfully ask that this commission refers to the written letter that I provided. In the letter, I've requested certain actions and solicit the board to consider the following. Withhold certification of the deputy chief list until matters can be more clearly resolved. Investigate into why this matter cannot be resolved under para or with MOUs, just as the other promotional positions for the examination are handled. Examinations. If it is determined that it cannot be solved under para, that the commission utilize its authority to amend its rules according to page 18 of the local rules of the Waterford Township Police and Fire Civil Service Commission. For example, on page 16 of the local rules, under the heading seniority, I'd offer to add that service time for both Pontiac Fire Department and Waterford Fire Department be included for all promotional testing within the Waterford Regional Fire Department. In doing so, this would ensure that the spirit of providing a fair, competitive, experience-based test will be the standard set forth by this commission. I also respectfully offer the fact that the current rules and process may be flawed and or outdated because they've never been addressed after accepting the responsibility of taking on a neighboring community's fire response area and the employees that come along with it. At this time, I've yet to be harmed by this matter, but I believe that if the list is certified in its current state, it would be then that I would have just cause to seek alternate routes of solution. I sincerely hope that this matter can come to an amicable resolution that offers fairness, equality, and consistency across the board for all employees and all entities involved within it. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to summarize and bring to your attention my feelings of this problem. I'm prepared to answer any and all questions they may have for me. And I also have a copy of the letter if you'd so like, and I'd like to offer them for your minutes, if you don't mind, a copy of them.
Yeah.
Of your letter we have?
That was the summary I just read.
Oh, okay. I can make a copy of it, yeah, please.
Matt, I read your letter earlier.
Yes, sir.
A few things that stick out. I don't think we are in any position to, quote unquote, like you said, investigate. You know, the way you stated here, investigation by the commission into matters pertaining to seniority points, I think we have a obligation to figure out, what needs to be done with seniority points. But the memos that were signed, and the ones that weren't. We go back and, whether it was signed through collective bargaining or whatever, I don't think it's our position as a commission to go back unless it was our fault I did that, which I don't think it was.
Would you mind if I tell you what I'm relating to?
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Okay, I appreciate it. On page 5, the local rules, within your local rules of the Waterford Township Police and Fire Service Commission, under hearings, it speaks to the act of requesting for an investigation. I could read it all to you right here.
I've got it here, right?
Okay. The request must clearly identify the issue to be investigated.
Yes, if there was an issue that, again, if the commission was responsible for any harm in a testing process, we would have to investigate. What I don't see at this time where that's happened.
Okay, so it'd be after somebody determined that there was harm that I would relate to that? I'm not sure the process, but reading the rules, I felt like I could ask for an investigation. And the reason I asked that is, in the May meeting, it was brought forth by this board, who wholeheartedly was in agreement with what I brought to the table at that time, that seniority points should be given. It was clearly stated that. And it was brought forth that it was directed that the chief and HR and the union should write an MOU exactly like the other positions were written. So it hasn't been written. I'm not privy to why it hasn't been accomplished. And so I asked that maybe, since civil service directed that, maybe they investigate why it didn't happen. That's where I'm coming from with that.
If I recall that meeting right, there was a lot of things that were brought up that we agreed in theory probably should be done, but that was going to be a case between the union and the township.
Okay.
If I could,
Yes.
is it okay, Captain Knight?
Absolutely, sir.
I'm Howard Shipman, I'm the township's labor attorney, and you brought up good points, and I really want to thank you, Captain Knight. You made an excellent presentation, and I understand where you're coming from. I've been doing this 40 years. Act 78 is tough, promotions are tough in police and in fire, because there's a limited number of opportunities, and whatever decisions you make on any issue, somebody benefits and someone is harmed. The simple fact of the matter is here, there is no letter which exists which gives seniority points based upon time outside of Waterford. Whether it's Pontiac, we have other firefighters who work in other communities. They don't get seniority points either. There is no such agreement. It's based on Waterford time. Now, there are agreements that were reached that were alleged the documents say non-precedential for various ranks. There's not one for the rank of deputy chief. You can't investigate why that did or didn't happen. It's covered by the Public Employment Relations Act, and Captain Nye properly pointed that out. I don't have a right to come before you on behalf of the township, and I can give you an example. I'd like to, let's say, eliminate seniority. I'm not saying that's my position. But we go to the union and say we should only have 5 seniority points, and everything else should be based on merit. The union tells us no, which they have a right to do. Then come before you and say, would you investigate that for me? And if the investigation doesn't give good reason, I want you to amend your rules to eliminate seniority points. That's not about collective bargaining. The collective bargaining process is based on the Constitution, it's based upon PIRA, and you guys don't investigate that. There are no seniority points, it's outside the scope of your jurisdiction, and really that's the end of the matter here. There's nothing else for you to look at. You may have personal opinions, we might have personal opinions, but the fact of the matter is the union and the employer never reached an agreement. And there were discussions afterward, I'm not going to go into them. What happens at union meetings doesn't matter, what happens in our discussions doesn't matter. They're all protected, nobody could testify or tell you anyway. I wouldn't ask a union member what happened, why did you vote a particular way, why did you take that position, and you couldn't ask us that same thing. We're going to ask you to say, to follow the rules that exist, it's fair. That's the rules that exist, you've got to follow the rules, you can't amend them retroactively. If down the road, the parties reach an agreement, the contract's expiring, all those things can happen. But that's not before you today. And that's the position of the township. And we would appreciate if you would decline the jurisdiction and just proceed and certify the list.
Moving forward, if I could add to that real quick, I would ask under the hearings, this states about to investigate the matter, you state that you don't believe that you're responsible for any harm. It's my contention that if you don't change the rules and relate it back to that the seniority is equal like the other past practice that's been established within the other MOUs established, that at that point, maybe an investigation could happen because harm would occur. My contention is harm will occur if the list is certified as such. That's what I contend, that's what I was here in March for, in May for, to contend that we should fix it before we get to this point. I don't think that we get to a point the wrong way, erroneously, in my opinion. In my opinion, we erroneously arrived at this, and then we say, well, we're here, so we're gonna do it anyways, and it's too late to fix anything. When we have dismissed opportunity after opportunity to do that in previous situations. I recently just have investigated these rules, I just was given them last week. And as I relate to changing the rules, it states, let me get to it, on page 18. I think it's right there. So I'll just read the end of it. I could read the whole thing if you want, but you're probably familiar with it. Under amendments, any recommended change or addition to the existing rules and regulations presented to the commission at a commission meeting should be brought to a vote of the commissioners at the next commission meeting. That's why I'm bringing forth to you the suggestion of possibly changing the rules and regulations as it's related to, you have only, I say you, it only states Waterford employment under there. Where Waterford took on the responsibility of a neighboring community and the employees that go along with it, and it was never addressed. It was never addressed. That's not anybody's fault. This is unprecedented territory. We're writing the book as we go along. It's my contention, and I'm not a lawyer, he's a well-established lawyer. It's my contention that if it's certified as such, going forward, that there will be harm, and then it'll be a different matter. But I'm only here to present my case and not argue with anybody.
I think we need to look at the whole, pack and, go through it, but I don't think the senior points, like he stated, Mr. Schumann, I think it's not our duty to say, okay, this is how it is, this is how it's not. We should listen to past law, listen to attorneys, see how it is. I think some of the wording might be, clarified, so everything is included, so there's no quote unquote gray areas. I want to get rid of the gray areas. We had a lot of gray areas when the whole Pontiac merger, we call it merger, takeover, collapse, whatever happened there. I was part of it when Damon was going through it. It was a mess. It was a mess trying to keep all you guys having jobs, trying to keep what we could do. I think we did a fairly good job when we did it.
I agree, this is one more opportunity to make another advancement.
I would like to make a motion, we go into closed session.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, you want to, why don't we step out in there about what's in front of us today. We believe that what's in front of us right now is not something the commission should or would address. We believe that it needs to be done elsewhere, not with us at this point. So that's where we stand right now on that. We are going to go ahead and certify the lists as they stand, or at least vote on it.
Did we move on to the next agenda item?
We will be, yes.
Okay. But no more discussion on this one?
Not at this time, because I don't think it's something that the civil service should address. I think it's something that should be addressed probably between the township, the union, and, the departments.
To collective bargaining.
Correct.
So just for the record, discussion's over on that, for the record, minutes?
For the record, what you discussed about, changing seniority points, so on and so forth, right now, yes, we're moving on. Unless, you said.
I was just gonna ask a point
Yeah.
of clarity, and maybe Howard can help. It seems as if, I'm kind of a simple thinker, right? It seems that what Mr. Nye has asked, and it will probably include me as much as Mr. Simba. His question was, he respectfully asked that the commission accept the request of investigation into why an MOU was not signed at the request and direction of the board. Then consider possible amendments, the rules, and table the certification of the fire department deputy chief's list. There's three things: investigation, consider amendments, and table the list. I think to his point, I think we kind of took too much into one, in my opinion, and I wanted to, not necessarily rebut, but just to raise the point to the commission, because this is your meeting. Then on page 5, the commission shall hold formal hearings based on the written request, and we have that, of a civil service employee, who he would be, or other party, in order to investigate, which is his request, matters concerning the enforcement of the act, these rules and regulations, or to hear appeals of disciplinary actions, or, I think this is where he's at, matters concerning the status of applicants, which is what he is, on an eligibility list, which is what we're discussing. So notwithstanding the relationship and the Constitution and everything else, I think it's questioned. He's a valid individual to raise a question to this board to investigate this. Now, if you choose not to do it, it's fine. It just seemed to me that it was like the conversation went into, he can't do it, the board doesn't have jurisdiction. You absolutely have jurisdiction to investigate, because your rule says if the person is a commissioner, and then I'm done, if the person is a civil service employee, and your rule says matter concerns the status of an applicant, he's an applicant, and it concerns his status. And that's the part that I'm more so asking, are we just done with that? You know, as you decide on amendments or making a change, that's obviously all of it's your decision. But I just think that's not unreasonable, to be very clear. I think that's not unreasonable. It's probably gonna harm or affect me having to be investigated and involved, because it'll take my time. But I think it's reasonable. I think what he has asked is a reasonable request.
Could I respond to that?
I'd like to respond to it first, though.
Okay, thank you.
We have an obligation to investigate if there's a violation of the act itself, and the rules. I don't see anywhere that I have read in here or in a copy of your contract, which I had here a minute ago, that this is a matter for the Civil Service Commission. I don't believe it is. And I think I would stand behind, I can't speak for my fellow commissioners, but I don't see where the Civil Service Commission has a stake in this. I believe it's between you, the employer, and not us. We have tried to accommodate, and you know, this line keeps getting moved. And I don't think we can move it any farther than what it is right now.
When we left this before, we left this for you, Simlac, to iron it out. And we were under the understanding that you were gonna come back with a MOU on it. In the end, we didn't make any decision, and you didn't make an MOU. So it's our thought that if you didn't come to an agreement, we're not gonna afford, we agreed to move the test date, which allowed some other people, including Mr. Nye, to test. But to change it at this point, I don't think it's our obligation. I think it's to you guys to iron it out like you did the other ones. See, the other ones you didn't bring before the board and ask us to change them. You changed them through collective bargaining.
I think we're having a different conversation, because I'm not disagreeing with y'all. I'm really not. I'm saying he's a civil service employee who is asking the commission to investigate something. I'm not saying that you guys have to change rules, MOUs. I'm asking, I think it's a very direct question, which is, your rules say if a person who is an employee and he has a specific question regarding matters concerning the status of his applicant on an eligibility list, I think that's all I'm saying. You can say we're not gonna do it,
Can
and
I
that's fine.
add to this real quick?
That's all I'm saying.
I want to let
I'm
you
not
guys know, the
putting rest
reason
of it
I
on
did that, I read the rules, and the reason I went to the part about matters concerning the status of applicants on eligibility list. It was interesting to me because this board was enthusiastically in favor of an MOU being signed, like the other one, like the other one, like the other one, like the other one, like all others are within this department. I wondered why you were so enthusiastic then, but now you might wonder, I thought you might wonder, well, why didn't it get done? Because it was made clear that the board was in favor of that happening. It was made clear that the board was in favor of the seniority points for all. It was asked of the sitting chief at the time, was this to include, was the intent to include every promotional exam within the department? City of Pontiac and Waterford seniority points. The answer from him was yes. He clearly stated, he sat here at this table and he stated the answer was yes. He was asked why it hadn't been done. The union and the chief at the time said they were put in an order of precedence, but they were going to get to it and they simply did not get to it. That leads me to believe there might be other reasons why it didn't get done. And I don't know why it's done, so I don't have any other recourse but to ask this board, who was enthusiastically in favor of it happening, do you wonder why it didn't happen?
We're enthusiastically in favor of throwing it out there to say, listen, you guys talk on it, come out with a decision that everybody's happy with. Because that's what it boils down to, collective bargaining. No one's super happy, but you know, that's what it's all about, coming to a consensus that where everybody agrees. We're all excited about that, because that means not just us three, not just me said this is how it's going to be. No one wants that. I like to throw it out there, and we're always excited when everybody gets together for a unanimous opinion or opinion about it. That's always good. That's what we're excited about. Now, sure, we threw it out, we're excited, we're like, yes, got done. Something didn't get done. Why didn't it get done? That's not up to us. We threw it out there. I know Mr. Shipman had asked for some time, so what's...
The only thing, I'm agreeing with what you're saying, and respectfully, I disagree with what the union has said here.
No.
You can't investigate.
That's me and Howard.
It's not the first or the last time.
Yeah, that's right.
But the fact of the matter is, I can't go and say, why did the union not accept the proposal? You can't ask that, I can't ask that. You can't ask us that. That's what they're asking you to look into. That's not what this rule is for. The only thing that you could have looked at is, does there an agreement exist which gives Captain Nye the right to the relief he's seeking? Why it didn't happen, you can't investigate. You can't say what happened in the union meeting. You can't look into any of those. Those are all protected under the Public Employment Relations Act. They're outside the scope of the rule. The only thing, if you quote investigate, is there, and you can look at his document, and Captain Nye says, there is no such agreement. That's it. You've
But
got
is
nothing else
there
to do.
any part of what you're reading there that says if he asks for a hearing, then we're obligated not to certify the list?
No, that was never my point, Mr. All I was saying was, it seems like his question of the investigation was not addressed. That's all I was saying, that when you guys return.
Here's my question is, investigate what?
Well, that
There's
was something
no,
you had
there,
said.
Right, investigate why the memo
there
didn't get
is,
signed.
there, investigate if there was, the rules have been, and I'm talking about the act. If the board is in violation of the act.
Where does it say that, sir, in violation of that?
No,
No,
it
you're
just-
wanting us to investigate something
Yeah, according to the rules.
according to our rules, and the only thing we can investigate if there was something happened that we violated the rules of the Civil Service
It
Act.
doesn't say that though, sir.
Then what are we supposed to investigate?
Well, maybe you would investigate my status of eligibility in the list. My contention is it's not full and complete and experience-based as set forth of every other position that's promoted for in this fire department. Every single other promotion of that is included. So I would come to the board, that's who I come to. I don't know who else to go to. I plead with the board, your civil service, who is tasked with establishing competitive, experience-based tests on a fair line. And
But my
I would
problem
think that
with
maybe
that-
you might think it's not a competitive, experience-based test, based on my testimony to you, that this would be the only test in the fire department that doesn't have the seniority of both included in it. Along the lines of all the MOUs that were already signed, rightfully so, people coming here, including the chief, saying it was supposed to be done for all. I thought the commission would say, I wonder why that hadn't been done. Maybe this isn't a fair, competitive, experience-based test now.
We do wonder.
I was gonna say, I
We didn't
do-
do that.
yeah.
It was all done
I don't think you
by
did.
your union
Right.
and the
I
township.
thought
We didn't
maybe-
do any of the MOUs,
It
none of
seems to
them.
me that the water's still muddy enough that you might say, I don't know if I can certify this based on all the conversations I've had. It doesn't seem fair and experience-based to me.
And we didn't do this one. If you remember right, we sent it back to you guys and said, you guys iron it out. We're not gonna do an MOU. If you remember that, that was what we left it at.
Right.
You didn't do an MOU.
Matt,
We
just,
I
don't
guess my
know why
question
they
would-
didn't do
I
an
guess my
MOU,
question
nor,
would be-
according to Howard, we can't ask
Could
why
I
they
ask
didn't do
why
an
then
MOU.
a test was put forth?
Well, it was time for us to test. There's nothing that says we can't test.
No, absolutely, I'm just wondering why. You have every right to do that.
We moved the date
You have
to
to remember,
accommodate several people in
My
your
contention
department.
is just that, if the list is certified, that there would be harm caused. That's my contention. And I
Well,
came here
there's
to try to
nothing in
point
that
some-
act, though, that says if you ask for a hearing, we can't certify the list.
Absolutely. I'm not a lawyer, I'm here to request that you don't, based on that I think there may be alternative, things that happen afterwards. And it might come back to be known in hindsight that it wasn't the fair thing to do at the time.
Matt, and don't take any, I know you're not taking any of this personally.
I never do.
You know, and
Absolutely
it's just like when I was here in front of you before, and I said, we need to find a way for you to test. Not my position, not his position, we threw it back to the union. Find a way to get you tested, let the best man win, you know what I mean? You're a great, you know, person to have in the fire department, you know, you're a great person, you know. You tested well, you know, as I look at it, what we have in front of us are two lists that need to be certified, how they stand right now. You know, we threw it out there to the union. The union, whatever reason, or the other people didn't do the memo of understanding for whatever
I
reason.
wonder why?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
But you know, they can always come back and say, you know, listen, let's do another memo, let's do this, let's, but right now they have, there's a reason, there's more people involved than just us three commissioners in that decision.
I
There's more
won't keep
people
the
than
whole
just
night.
Captain Nye involved.
Right.
Because if you'd given the seniority points, somebody else would have been disadvantaged. There's a lot of great firefighters. We have a lot of quality candidates. And anytime you change the rules, some people are gonna benefit and some people aren't. So it's, you know, you show up, anytime you make a decision, there's different people sitting in front of you. There are a set of rules. There was no obligation to change them. The MOU didn't exist, the rules exist, you had to give a test, you do it under the rules. That happens all the time. And respectfully, that's the end of it. You have nothing to investigate.
If I can make one clear point of rebutting that, I in no way am asking to take away anything from anybody. To use a ridiculous analogy, there was a race that was to be had, and then it was a bike race. And everybody got 10 speeds and I got a tricycle. I'm asking to keep their times with their 10 speeds, and I want to get down to 10 speed and see where my time was and see where I end up. I'm not asking to take anybody away from anybody. I'm not asking to give somebody else a tricycle and me the 10 speed. I'm asking that I get the same opportunity as everybody else that's set forth in past practice by this fire department, the union in this township, since 2013, when the union voted for it to happen. And the township and the union did this MOU, this MOU, or this MOU, and for some reason differently right now. That is the epitome of something going wrong. And so I don't have any other recourse but to come to the commission, who's in charge of a fair, balanced, experience-based test, and request through the local rules that state, could you investigate why this didn't happen, the things that you wanted to happen and asked to happen before. So that's why I'm here. I'm not saying, I won't tell you what to do. I'm just here to implore you why I'm here. It's not fair. What's wrong is wrong is wrong. And I know I'm getting a little bit more heated on this, but it's wrong. It is wrong what's happened. It'll be wrong when it happens again, and it won't be right until it's made right. And that is the honest to God truth, and I hope it gets put down in the meetings. What's wrong is wrong, and it's starting to wear on people.
See, the other part of that coin is, if we as a commission say, wherever you come from, your seniority goes here.
It's not what I'm asking,
So,
sir.
but
It opens
that's
a
the can of worms we're opening up.
You took over another fire department, sir.
But that's the can of worms we're opening up. Somebody comes in from Bloomfield with 12 years, and there's a Waterford guy that's got 8 years, he walks all over in the
Respectfully
test.
disagree, it happens over and
Okay.
over. And I
It
respectfully
does,
disagree.
but that's why you have
The township
MOUs.
took on another community's fire response and all the responsibilities that goes along
We
with
did.
it. Why they wouldn't want an experience from that community that was taken over is beyond me. Matter of fact, they did want it because there's been 4 MOUs signed as such to make that happen.
All of which were supposed to be non-presidential, which we weren't supposed
Only
to
one
talk
said it.
about here.
Only one said
And
it.
as a result, that's the reason why you have problems with
Only
things.
one said it.
And when we sit at the bargaining table, unions have a tendency to say, not just one thing, they want other things. But that's not before you. It's a give and take process. I sit with guys who've been laid off from here. They're sitting at the bargaining table as the leaders in other departments, and they don't get the time, and sometimes they ask for it, but it's subject to negotiations. And that's what happens. And we're living with a document which said originally, Waterford time is Waterford time. We've moved from that. We entered into various deals for specific ranks, one-time deals. There's nothing before you. You can't second guess that and make that. If this goes somewhere else, all of those things will flesh out, but the bottom line is, what anybody's gonna say is there any agreement which says, any document which says that seniority points count Pontiac time for this test? And that there's nothing there.
And that's what
That's the
we have
bottom
to
line.
look like.
That's
when
what
we
I
go
had
An
ahead
employee to
and
read the other
certify
MOUs, only one says non-precedent setting, that would be the first one they wrote. Since then, they realized that that's not where we want to go with this. The ones further than that did not say non-precedent setting. It didn't happen. And the whole problem is that, he's right, it doesn't have, you don't have one for deputy chief and chief. That's the whole problem. That's why this is so wrong. Why did, and maybe I have to go another avenue. Why did it happen, not happen? I wonder why. I thought this was the venue that I
You
needed to.
crossed the line of management in there too.
Also, so you know,
you
gentlemen,
went
I
out of-
apologize, and I get a little bit,
That's fine. You're
I-
passionate about your
I'm
job.
passionate about it, and I'm a right fighter. I forget what I was gonna say now. I forget what I was gonna say, and it was, probably pretty important. I want you to know, I wanna let you know I have to go through this venue for one thing. Because this is, one venue I can go to find solution. Whether I find it here or not, it looks like I'm not going to, it doesn't matter, but I need an answer, and you guys look like you're gonna give me one. Hopefully, it can be a documented answer, and then I'll move on to the next venue to
Oh,
find
yeah, we
solutions.
definitely, the meetings have minutes. We actually have a recorder in the background by someone brought in. I'm not really
So
sure
I
who did
appreciate
that,
that. I just
but-
wanted to get it all on the table and not have a real quick thing, and I appreciate the gentleman down there. He's an extremely smart guy, 10 times smarter than me. He knows this business like no other. It's kind of intimidating. I'm speaking against somebody like that, but,
But Matt, back to it, like I said, you know, we moved the line, or I don't wanna say move the line, we made it so you could test between the union. Union made it so you could test. You tested, you did great. But you got out of that tricycle and you started running, is what you did. And
I appreciate that.
You know, you really did. You got off that tricycle and you ran. And that's what you did. So at this point, we gotta move to step 3, or, you know, 3 on the minutes. I don't know what your choices are after this, you know, but at this point, I think we have to look at the certification of the fire chief and the deputy fire chief eligibility tests and go from there. Certifying the list as they stand, that was presented in front of us.
okay,
So,
thanks for hearing me out.
you're welcome. So we have 2 left, go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we certify the chief, fire chief, and deputy fire chiefs.
Let's do one at a time.
Please.
Okay,
Do we have a motion for fire chief?
I'll make a motion for the fire chief's report.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fire chief list certified as is.
Then I would like to make a motion that we certify the deputy fire chief's eligibility list.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So deputy chief. All right, moving to number 4, the next Civil Service Commission meeting is on 12/4, we're in December already. Snow's still flying out there. Anything else that anybody else say, Mr. Smith?
I want to thank you for consideration, I appreciate it, thank you.
Mark? Dan? Never heard you not say anything.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned
Second.
at 5:42.
Like up there, says Curtis. I can know.